In the early 2000s, right through 2009, I was a truck driver. I was driving long distance, hauling freight from usually between Canada and the United States, 48 states, all of Canada. It was good in a way because I like travel, but there are hours of service and other rules in place that basically nobody ever followed because you couldn't get the job done and follow the rules, be completely compliant. And if you were signed up with a carrier, then you had to fool two sets of people. The first one was your own compliance department. You had to kind of pretend to them that you were always following the rules and doing everything by the book. And then the second one, of course, the DOT, Department of Transportation, and wherever state or whatever province, I think in Canada they have a different name, but it's the same thing. They stop you at a scale. Usually they used to check your logbooks. All the logbooks were fudged and everybody knew about it. And the problem with that is with rules that nobody can actually comply with 100%. The problem with that is that if a cop doesn't like your face, no matter if you had a good day or a bad day that day, they'll find a way to give you a ticket. There's always that possibility. Always. And when I got out of trucking in 2009, I thought, well, I'm never in my life going to sign up for another bullshit thing like that. And I kept my promise pretty much. But then, 2.5 years ago, I got into drones. Well, hello and welcome. My name is George Schlacek and you're watching The One. Yeah, it's me, and it's about drones. It's not about trucking. Don't go away. But why am I bringing this up in the first place? Well, it's just because the drone regulations in Canada remind me a lot of the trucking regulations that I had to deal with back in the early 2000s. You might say they're all there for safety reasons, to protect the general public. You know, drones are dangerous or whatever. But if you're a drone operator, whether it be recreational or you're doing it commercially, whatever it may be, you've probably run into situations where you could not comply 100% with the rules. Flying outside of a visual line of sight in Canada is illegal. Is that a good thing? Perhaps in certain situations it is, because it could be high risk. If you're not aware of where your drone is and you're just going by the camera, then absolutely, stuff could happen. But what does visual line of sight actually mean? Well, recently I watched a video by Russ from 51 Drones. You might be familiar with that channel. And he says all it means is that you know where your drone is at all times. You do not have to stare at your drone the whole time. That's fair enough, but I think in Canada the definition is slightly different. You actually have to have visual contact with your drone, unaided, no binoculars, at all times. It's not practical, especially not if you say you're flying behind a tree or you're flying behind a building that you're trying to capture and you know exactly what's behind there, but for a split second or so you cannot see it because your drone is behind there. Another thing is when you're capturing something and it's like maybe 500-600 meters away and you can see your drone perfectly well, but then you're focusing in on the screen in order to capture whatever it is you're filming, and you take your eyes off the drone, still being fully aware what's going on in the airspace around the drone. But now when you look back up, you can't see your drone. You know, it takes you perhaps 20 seconds or so to locate the drone. Don't even get me started on FPV. There are FPV pilots in Canada. Perhaps you're one of them. Well, do you ever go flying solo? It's illegal, guys. But there are new drone regulations in the work by Transport Canada, and that's why I had to make this video right now, because there's now an opportunity to actually have a little bit of influence on what's going to be in those rules. There's already a proposal out, and you'll have to go to Transport Canada's drone portal to see the proposal. I will leave a link in the description, so that's easy to do. Reading it is another story. So I'm going to summarize just a few things for you that I think perhaps need some work. First one, of course, it's the visual line of sight thing. It's actually going to be legal now. There are two categories for this. The first one will be called extended visual line of sight. That'll mean that you can fly within a radius of up to 2 nautical miles, which is 3.7 kilometers, is quite far. As long as you have a visual observer, you can fly beyond visual line of sight. The problem with that is that they want that visual observer, and that's the way the proposal stands right now, to be an advanced pilot. Now, in order to fly BVLOS, is what it's called, beyond visual line of sight, you have to be a holder of an advanced Canadian RPAS license as well. And your visual observer has to have that too. What's the task of a visual observer? No, he does not touch your controller. He does not interfere. He does not fly the drone. Technically, he doesn't even have to know how to fly the drone. He doesn't necessarily have to know all the aviation regulations and all the meteorology things that you had to study just to get this advanced license. That's if you have it, because a lot of people give up even before ever getting that, and they just go back to sub 250 gram drones where they can avoid all this hassle. Do you think that a visual observer whose sole task is to keep an eye on your drone and make sure that it doesn't interfere with any manned air traffic, doesn't hit anything, whatever, needs to have an advanced license? You be the judge, but in my simple little mind, just a set of eyes, 20 minutes of focus, that's how long my drone stays up there usually, and the willingness to come along with me, that's all it needs. There's now an opportunity to put in your feedback about these drone regulations, and I want you to do that. You might be familiar with Don Joyce from the channel Don Drones On. He talked about DPAC, which is Drone Pilot Association of Canada, an organization I recommend you join because they put out like a position paper, or if you want a counter proposal. And in that counter proposal, they say that perhaps any range within 1 kilometer, the visual observer should be optional. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because that'll finally put me most of the time 100% into the legal framework. Yes, I'll be honest with you, I have lost sight of my drone while I was flying it. I have not lost awareness of where the drone is. I have never been close to colliding with any other aircraft. Yeah, usually there are very many good ways to fly the drone safely, even if you don't stare at it the whole time. Because usually what I'm trying to do is get good photos or good video footage. It doesn't allow me to just keep my eyes on the drone the whole time. Impossible. Another good thing about these rules, it's a sheltered operation, they call that. When you're flying in close proximity to a building or a structure, they call it a structure, as long as you are within 30 meters of it vertically, no more than 30 meters above, and no more than 61 meters away from it, which is, I think, 200 feet, you're good to go. Beyond visual line of sight. So if your drone is behind the building, as long as it stays within 61 meters of that building, you're good. In the past, this would be totally illegal because you're beyond visual line of sight. Now there's something else, and again, this kind of reminds me of my trucking days, because back then we were always given raises, and it was all about the dollar per mile. They had creative ways of playing with the benefits and playing with this, playing with that, so fuel surcharges, you name it, to somehow make you feel good about it. But in reality, it was a pay cut. At first glance, pay raise. Reality, pay cut. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because the fee increases. There are going to be possibly fee increases for registering your drone. I bet you always wanted to register your drone and pay $5 for it, right? And finally, Transport Canada listened to all us drone pilots, and they introduced that. I believe it was in 2019. I'm not sure exactly. It was before my time. But however, who's benefiting from registering the drone? Is it you? That's their argument. See, they wanted to adjust the fees in a way that the users that register more drones should pay more of their fair share. The problem is, I bet that nobody ever begged Transport Canada to have their drone registered. Or did you? Drone registration doesn't benefit the drone pilot. It benefits the general public, perhaps, and it benefits Transport Canada by being able to identify who flew that drone and giving you a fine. It's for enforcement purposes. And, if they're going to increase the registration fee from $5 to $10, I call that a money grab. Maybe that's something you should leave your feedback on too, unless you never plan to get another drone. But I know that many of you probably have more than one drone, and when you have to register them, well, $5, maybe not a big deal, but now it's going to be 10. What's next? SFOCs. They were free to apply for in the past. Well, now let me check here. I believe they are now going to be for low complexity SFOC, Special Flight Operations Certificate. The application fee will be $150. But for a high complexity, which is probably more for commercial applications, bigger drones and whatnot, it's going to be $2,000. That, guys, if you say you're a foreign pilot, you need the certificate to fly in Canada, now it's going to cost you $150. Want to fly at an advertised event? Well, you got the advanced license, you got all this, you went through all the hoops. Now you have to apply for this, $150 a shot. And if they reject you, it doesn't matter, $150. Why am I bringing this up right now and I'm making this video kind of on a whim? Because right now there's a deadline until September 22nd, 2023. And I'll leave a link in the description where you can leave your feedback on the Transport Canada portal. And I think it's very important that we all write our sentence or two about the things that we like, and definitely about the things that we don't like. Because it seems like now there's strength in numbers. We can have some influence on what the rules are going to look like. And these rules, they're only going to come into effect in spring of 2025. They're probably going to present their final draft at the end of 2024. And then, we're going to be stuck with these rules probably for a long time. And I'm putting the question to you. Do you want to feel like a criminal every time you're just flying your drone the way you normally do? Or do you want to have a set of rules that you can actually comply with and feel good about? And that actually makes some sense when it comes to protecting the public. So this video is somewhat informal. I just rattled down the main points that I don't like. There's a lot more in there, guys. I got this all written down, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really apply to most recreational drone pilots, especially not those of us who are flying the small RPAS between 250 grams and 25 kilos. And I tell you, the license right now is relatively easy to come by if you're going for the basic one. I will have some videos about how to do that. And the advanced one is a little bit tougher, but I'll be working on some study guides on how you can accomplish that as well. But your opinion and your feedback on these new proposed drone rules definitely matters. So take the time and go to Transport Canada, read the new proposal, and then leave your feedback. And if you don't have time to read all this, just comment on what I just told you. So anyways, I appreciate you watching, and happy flying, guys. Perhaps you can give this video a thumbs up, and maybe you'll even subscribe to my channel. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much.